Hey, we're going to jump into the Word, and we have been on a series now for a number of weeks, and we are going through parables. And if you missed the last couple weeks, I cannot, of course, go through them all, but please join with us online, YouTube, podcasts, wherever you're listening or watching, go catch up with us. But we are talking about these stories, these paradoxical, parable, Dr. Seuss riddle, puzzle stories that Jesus is inviting us into his kingdom. And the best way that he can describe his kingdom or invite us into his kingdom that we can live in it with him and like him is these things called parables. And so we have a little chart for you if you missed it the very first week. There's 38 of them, by the way. There's 38 parables that we could go through. Of course, we're not going to go through all of them, and that'll be a very, very, very long 38-week series, but there are 38 parables. Some are very similar, some are not alike at all. But if, in my opinion, they can fall into one of these 7 categories. All 38 can fall into one of these 7. Many of them are about grace, forgiveness, about stewardship, what you do with what God gave you, money, how you treat your money, how you make your money, discipleship, what does it mean to follow him in this kingdom, lost, the lost things, lost items, how we treat lost people, prayer, how we talk to God, how he talks to us. And then last, eternity, judgment, how this whole thing ends, how we think about eternity, how we think about the next life. If you can put all 38 parables into one of those 7 categories, of course, it could be 10, 12, 15, but to make it concise, you can fit them in one of those 7 categories. And my goal over the next 7-8 weeks is that I'm going to take one per category and kind of deal with these huge topics and themes at a time. So the first week we talked about the grace, forgiveness, lost things, that the kingdom of God is this extreme kingdom of grace, of forgiveness. It is not a kingdom of kazaza, if you were here for that. It's not a kingdom of judgment in that way. It's an extreme grace in this kingdom. Last week we talked about what the kingdom actually is, how it works, being yeast, and it works through our life, and it's slow, and it kind of moves its way through our life. We talked about that last week, and so today we're going to jump into another parable. If you notice, some of our parables are very, very long. Some are a full chapter. Some are 2 sentences. The first week about the prodigal son or the forgiving father, that was a really, really long one. Last week was 2 sentences, really short one. Today we're going to do another really short one that deeply matters. And then next week, we're going to do another really long one. And I will say this, today's going to be good. I'm going to preach my best. But next week is kind of the whole reason why I'm doing this series. So please be here next week. Do not miss church. And I would ask you to invite a friend. I have no idea where they're going to sit or stand, but it would be a really, really good idea to bring someone specifically who does not know God or does not follow Jesus. Next week would be vitally important as we unpack some stuff next week. But today we're going to do another short one. In all 7 of these categories, they all are trying to do one of 3 things. One of 3 things. They're not doing all the 3 at the same time. They're all trying to do one of 3 things. Number 1, they're just trying to show us how the kingdom comes, how it arrives, how it works, being the yeast. It was not about the dough. It wasn't about morals. It wasn't about values. It wasn't about eternity. It was just about how the kingdom comes in our life. Next, the second thing it's trying to do is show us the values in the kingdom. Like the parable of the prodigal son is a value. It's a value system, how we live in grace. The parable of the yeast has nothing to do with values. It has to do with the kingdom, right? So there's one about just the kingdom out as it comes, as it arrives. Second, the values in the kingdom. Third, the parables are trying to create a crisis for you that you have to make a decision. It's not about values. It's not about how the kingdom works and lives. It's just putting the ball in your lap, putting the ball in your court, saying, what are you going to do? It creates a crisis for us. Today, we're going to read one of the crisis stories. So here we go, Matthew 13. Matthew 13. Two verses. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure. It's like treasure that a man discovered hidden in a field. In his excitement, he hid it again and sold everything he owned to get enough money to buy the field. Same parable, different angle. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant, not a man in a field, a merchant, on the lookout for choice pearls. When he discovered a pearl of great value, he sold everything he owned and bought it. So now the kingdom is not yeast, the kingdom's not leaven, the kingdom's not a boy running away, the kingdom. Now he's zoning in on the kingdom's like a man who finds treasure in a field. What? Furthermore, it's like a merchant who's looking for some pearls and he finds one, he sells everything and buys it. Jesus, what, I'm a pirate now? I'm a merchant? I'm looking for stuff? I'm a man that works in a field. Jesus, what are you talking about? How does this even define your kingdom. Well, let me help you today. What Jesus is saying in these two parables, these similes, these comparative parables within a parable, there's two things comparing each other. Number one, he says the kingdom is like someone who's working in a field, digging, doing something in a field that stumbles upon discovered treasure hidden in a field. First, he's like, for some of you, the way that you found my kingdom is you stumbled upon it. Total accident. This narrative, if you read it in Greek, it's like a man that's like scooting dirt out of the way. Maybe he hit his toe on a corner and saw a box and dug. Maybe he was doing work for his master, maybe doing work for his boss, and he was trying to dig for a tree or whatever, and he came upon a box. The first man, the narrative of the story is Jesus saying, some of you found me by accident. Some of you weren't looking for me at all. You discovered me. You stumbled your way upon me. Which, by the way, that's some of you in this room. You had no hunger for God, no hunger for church, no desire, no intellectual pursuit. You weren't pursuing God at all. Your girlfriend said, do you want to come to church? And you said, yeah, whatever, why not, never been, let's go. And then you showed up, and then in the middle of worship or in the Word, God started speaking to your heart, started opening your mind, something started moving, and now you've been here every Sunday for 9 months on accident. Some of you had no intent of living in Portland. You're like, I'm here for you, Pete, and I'm going straight home. It's been 30 years. You're one of us. Right? Like, some of you legitimately in this room or overflows, wherever you're at, you're here on accident. You had no pursuit of God, but you stumbled into Him, and now you found something of great value. So some of you found an accident. This is as others, like a merchant who was on the lookout for pearls. Was on the lookout. Merchants are pirates. They're people that would go town to town, ship to ship, city to city throughout the Mediterranean, and they would stop in a town, try to find all the trinkets and gold and expensive things, and then go trade at the next town. They were transient traders. They were merchants that buy, sell, find, sell. These people were on the lookout for rich things, for expensive things, for nice items. So this man, this man is not somebody who stumbled upon the kingdom. These type of people have been searching for truth their whole life. These are the people that went down the Quran, went down Catholic, went down Protestant, went down Muslim, went down Buddha, went down Gandhi, went down self-help. They went down the narrative of that you can find it, you are it. Go ground yourself in the backyard and the earth will speak to you. Go read your palm and the universe will reach out to you. These are the people that have gone down every single track of life trying to find something with value. And so some of you, this is not an accident. You've been searching for something of great value your whole life, and you finally found me. Now, this is where Jesus, in his genius narrative of this story, as we unpack it together, what is he saying? Okay, I'm a man in a field. I'm a merchant. This is what he's saying. It does not matter if you found me on accident or you found me because you were searching for something. What are you going to do when you find me? This is the whole parable. What are you going to do? The ball's in your court. You found me in an accident, your girl brought you, your neighbor brought you, you're walking by, you came in, you saw some YouTube that opened your mind, you saw some clip that really invited you into the things of God. Total accident, what are you going to do now? Or you've been searching for truth your whole life, stumbled your way into it, search this, search that, and guess what? Now you found something of great value. What are you going to do? Because again, in this narrative, the kingdom is not the ground. The kingdom is not the man. The kingdom is not the merchant. The kingdom's not the shovel that you find. The kingdom is the treasure of this life. That whether you stumbled upon it or whether you've been searching for it, does not matter. The ball's now in your court. You found me. What are you going to do? How will you respond to finding me? And both men do the same thing. Both men sell everything. Everything they have. We don't know if the everything is like boats and yachts and land and estates, and we have no idea what the everything is for each of these men. All we know is it was everything. Whether everything was $10 billion or $9, it was everything that they gave to acquire this thing that they found. In other words, it's simple. We're going to practice together. We're going to do communion. We're going to pray. The kingdom is worth everything. What are you going to do when you find me? You're going to have to act. You're going to have to respond. And guess what? I've come to tell you the kingdom is worth everything. Now, let me clarify something for all of you that were raised in church and you're kind of already getting a little sideways on me. This is not Jesus' way of saying you have to buy your way in. This is not the church we all raised in the 90s. Work harder, be better, offer God your works, offer God your sacrifice, and if your sacrifice is enough, he will welcome you in. That is not the order of the parable. The parable does not say that they sold everything and then acquired the pearl or acquired the treasure. The Bible says in order, they found the treasure, they found the pearl, and then they responded. In other words, it's very important. What they found by grace, they responded to a sacrifice. This is very important. I'm not perpetuating you to walk out this room and be like, okay, I need to read more and pray more so I have enough to give God so I can work my way in. That is not the gospel at all. You received the gospel, you received the kingdom by the grace of God, by the mercy of God. You will never do enough in a million lifetimes to earn the treasure you found. So do not hear me today that this is some capitalistic American way of saying, well, if you really want the kingdom, you kind of got to buy your way in. Do you have enough to get in? That's not what this parable is saying. Order matters in biblical narrative. What you find by grace, you should respond to by sacrifice. Well, how much sacrifice? Everything. That when we find this thing called the pearl, the treasure, the kingdom, it is worth everything. D.A. Carson, my favorite Old Testament scholar, says this: there is something about the kingdom of heaven which makes extravagant action the only proper response. There's something about this kingdom. There's something about serving God. There's something about serving Jesus that it demands an extravagant action, and that's the only proper response. So what is Jesus saying? He's saying there is no halfway in and halfway out. There is no, I found the kingdom. I found God. I found the treasure of my life. It's worth some of my time. It's worth some of my money. It's worth some of my future. It's worth some of my skills. This parable is so challenging, and my fear of today that it's going to come off very heavy, and it did last service. There's a lot moving around in the service, but my fear is that this is going to come off too heavy. I don't want it to be, but the reality is there are some people in the room that don't think the kingdom's worth everything. You don't think it's worth it. You think it's worth some of your time, some of your money, some of your focus, some of your energy, some of your Sundays, some of your mental space, some of your relationships. And I've come to remind you, the kingdom is either you are in or you are out. Get mad at Jesus, not me. I'm just preaching. He does not say one sold all and he accepted it, and one sold a little and he accepted it. Both men went and sold everything they had. Why? Because both men in Jesus' narrative, and what he's saying is, if you find something like this, it's worth everything. Do you remember the story of the rich young ruler? He walks up to Jesus, Rabbi, I want to follow you. And Jesus says back, I would love for you to. Go sell everything you have. And the man responds back, but I have a lot of money. I'm really rich. He said, I know. Go sell it. I'll give it to the poor. And the man says, I would rather not. And he walks away. And this is what's crazy. Jesus would rather lose a follower than lower standards. It's crazy to me. I would be like, all right, dude, 70%. Because your 70 is more than her 100. So I'll take it. You'll do 70? You're a multi-billionaire. I'll take 70%. He goes, no, either it's all of me or it's none of me. Well, then I'll take none. Then you can walk away, sir. And Jesus doesn't chase him down. Because in this kingdom, Jesus actually believes when you find it and when you find him, it's worth everything. And I know this sermon will shrink our church. It's fine. We need the seats anyway. I'm kidding. Because this type of preaching and these type of sermons fly in the face of American, convenient, Western Christianity. That the greatest door in the American church is the one with the least cost. What church can I go to that demands the least of me? What sermons can I hear that don't ruffle too much of my feathers? What pastor can I submit to that only wants some of my time? And what church wants some of my things? Where can I go? What door can I enter? That's the least minimal cost to bothering my life, because I have a lot of stuff going on. And I know I found something good. I know I found a treasure, but I got a lot of stuff going on. And I don't think what I found is worth all this. This sermon, this illustrative story that Jesus is telling flies in the face of the American convenient gospel. Bonhoeffer says this: staying in your old life and following Jesus mutually exclude each other. Staying in your old life and following Jesus mutually exclude each other. He goes on to say, commitment to an idea about Christ, a doctrinal system, or just general religious recognition does not cost you anything. Becoming a disciple does. Just mentally agreeing something, intellectually agreeing with God, adhering to a higher set of values, believing with the words that you read, the intellectual processing of God costs you nothing. But becoming a disciple will cost you everything. See, in other words, what these people used to call normal Christianity, we now call extreme. What they just called normal discipleship, we now call extreme Christianity. You go to church every Sunday? Whoa. You read your Bible once a week? Whoa. You pray more than just for meals? Wow. You give 10% of every paycheck? You are extreme. Or is that just normal discipleship? We've now fallen so far from true biblical discipleship that becoming one is now viewed as extreme. That's how far we've fallen. From just being a disciple, now when you act like one, people are wowed by it. You are extreme. You are really bought in. Are we? Or are we just doing what our ancestors always taught us to do? We're just doing what our brothers and sisters, our moms and dads, our uncles and aunts have done for millennia. Because either when you come to the treasure of God, either you have to decide he's worth everything or he's not. Some of you are like, dude, I'm in church. I believe he's worth everything. Okay, let's tease this out together, you and I. And play mental chess for a second. Some of you are like, I'm in church. I come when I can. I'm committed to the house. I have sold everything for the kingdom. Okay, so what about when you're at work and all your friends are anti-church, anti-Jesus, live the complete antithesis way of the kingdom? They do whatever on the weekends. They're in another bender. They're doing their thing. And they ask you, what'd you do for the weekend? And you don't want to say that you served at Fall Fest and gave up your Saturday. You don't want to say that you go to church every single Sunday, because what if you get ostracized? What if you lose the next account because your boss hates Christians? What if you don't get the next account from your teammate on the floor with you because you know that they are very anti-religion? So you don't want to say that you go to church and serve Jesus because it's none of their business. Oh, so you're not willing to sell your image for the kingdom. Yeah, I know you're in church. I love that you're here. But selling everything for the kingdom is more than the one decision you made in 9th grade at summer camp. It's daily have I decided to sell everything for the kingdom again. Because when you covet your image, you covet your relationships more than admitting you've bought this kingdom, what are you saying? I refuse to sell that for this. Keep going. Business owners, you know ways to cut corners. You know ways to skip taxes. You know ways to raise the account by 18% so you get more. You know ways to get that guy off the tax bill so you can get more from it. And you know what you're doing is unethical, anti-biblical, and not how Jesus would do it. But you refuse to sell the extra paycheck for your integrity. So instead of being honest about who's on what letter, who's on what bill, what it actually cost, you're willing to upcharge, and you know in an unethical way. So what are you saying? I won't sell this for that. All the teachers in the room, all the academics, you know the ways of Jesus. You know what the Bible says about morality. But you know if you teach that way, you lose a job. you know that every other person teaches at UP with you, or PSU, or Concordia, RIP. Wherever you teach at, you're like, no, I can't say I believe that because real academics know better. People with a real mind don't think this way anymore, so I can't admit the values that I hold because I'll lose respect in my academic world. So you'd rather keep your academic world than keep the kingdom. Do you see where I'm going with this? Every day you are offered with the opportunity, will I sell everything because the kingdom is worth it? In other words, it's if it comes to Jesus or that, I choose Jesus. When it comes to Jesus or that, I choose Jesus. So every one of you in this room, I don't know what your that is. For some of you, it's your sexuality. God can't touch my sexuality. I sleep with who I sleep with. I'm an adult. I'm 48. I'm not just messing around. Dude, sex is what adults do. It's the adult playground. It's just how we live. Get off my case. I'm 45 years old. I'm 30 years old. I can make my own decisions. So you're saying that God can touch every area of your life but that. It could be your mind. It could be your academics. It could be your relationships. It could be whatever it is. See, every one of us in this room, and overflows wherever you're at, what is your that? That you have to sit here and go, am I willing to sell that I might get the kingdom? Because I just want to submit to you today. Whatever your that is, it's not worth the kingdom. So if this is true, if what I'm saying is true, the other is true as well. The opposite is true as well. There are people that find the kingdom and don't think it's worth it. If there are people that do find the kingdom and do think it's worth it and sell everything, the opposite is true as well. There are people who find Jesus and his kingdom and decide you're not worth it. Can you imagine looking at the cross and telling Jesus, you're not worth that? Can you imagine looking at the empty grave and telling the resurrected Jesus, you're great and all, but you aren't worth that? I would rather keep this than sell everything I have to get the kingdom. You don't build churches with these sermons, friends. You shrink churches with these sermons. But this is the fact of what Jesus is saying. And you can get mad at me and email me all you want. I probably won't read it. But here's the thing. I'm committed to preaching this book. I'm committed to preaching what Jesus has actually said. And this is his story, not mine. That's why half of you are not clapping. Because you're like, I don't know if I want to clap for this. Because it's a conviction jab to your gut right now. I don't know if I think Jesus is worth it. Worth everything? What about 20%? What if I go from 20 to 40? What if I go from 50 to 70? No. He's worth everything. Everything. Look what Timothy Keller says. When you give up nothing when you end up with everything. That's profound. You don't give up anything when you end up with everything. So in other words, these men are not worried about what they lost. They're joyful about what they got. They're not walking around going, I remember when I had that. I remember when I gave that up. Man, I really missed that. He goes, I don't care what I gave up. It was nothing in comparative nature to what I got. Stay with me. This sermon's going to get gooder. I felt this deeply in prayer. I'm going to say to every service, because I don't know who it's for, but the people in the room need to hear this. It's not going to feel good. I'm going to smile when I say it. I felt this deeply in prayer. There are some of you in this room, you're probably in your 30s or early 40s. You're probably not in your 20s. You're probably not in your 50s. You're probably in your 30s and 40s. That your parents, when you were a child, they sold everything for the kingdom. They raised you in church. They took you to every prayer night, every Sunday. That's why you have the moral compass you do. That's why you know God's voice how you do. That's how you know his presence how you do. That's how you got married. That's how you've lived your entire life, because you were raised with the privilege of your parents doing what we are reading. And you now have to make your own decision. Because if you're not careful at 35, you're messing with the kingdom, thinking it's not worth your time. It's only because you have the privilege that you are living from your parents' sacrifice to even be in the place that you're at right now. And you think church isn't worth it? The only reason you are who you are is because your parents bought the kingdom. The only reason you found your spouse is because your parents gave everything for the kingdom. The only reason you've become who you've become is because your parents went all in on the kingdom, and now you sit in a place of privilege going, I don't really think church is worth it every Sunday. I don't think we should read the Bible that much. I don't know if I should give that much. And now you're in a place that you have to make the same decision your parents made. Otherwise, your kids won't get what you got. I feel that very deeply. Otherwise, you're going to raise your household unlike the household you were raised in. And then be confused when your children deconstruct in 10, 30 years. Be confused why your kids don't want to go to church. It's because you did not go all in on the kingdom like your parents did. It's 22-year-olds, this is not for you. 6-year-olds, I'm talking to a specific millennial generation. You're probably in your 30s and early 40s that need to wrestle down the question, is the kingdom actually worth my life? Or is it when you have time, when you have the energy, when you're in the mood, when the schedule's not full, when the kids aren't, when the money is, when the schedule allows? How many buffers do you need to commit your life to the kingdom? Because there are people that you have found this kingdom, you have found the treasure, and you've said, like, it's not worth it. But there are those, like these two men, that when they find the kingdom, they say, it's worth everything I have. Could you imagine getting to heaven and looking Jesus in his eyes and saying, I'm sorry, but back then, I didn't think you were worth it? Can you imagine entering into the kingdom of heaven, the actual one, and not serving Jesus, and you looking at him going, I should have sold everything. Guess what? You have a chance now to not regret it then. Either he's worth all of it, or he's not. Some of you are like, this is for people that are in full-time ministry. If you're a Christian, you're in full-time ministry. So let's clarify that. Some of you are like, dude, this is my first time in church since Easter, and I feel very pointed. Did my wife email you? I'm so sorry if this is your first time since Easter, or maybe your first time in your entire life. I'm not always like this. I'm usually way better. But maybe this is a really good Sunday for you to consider if this is worth it. Did you say he's like this all the time? Get out of here. Today's your last day on staff, sir. So, all right, whatever. One of the main reasons why Joel and I wanted to go to Europe during our break, well, I wanted to, is because I wanted to go to Rome. Some of you know, if you don't know, I'm in my master's program right now. I'm 7 months into a 2-year program. I'm doing a 4-year master's in 2 years. And so my mind isn't academic right now. My mind is all in reading. I have to read all these books and read all these papers and study all these words. So my mind is surrounded by academia right now. And so I really, really wanted to go to Europe because I wanted to go to Rome. Why? So I can do my tours. The boomer that I am. I was like, we're doing these tours. Okay, if we go to Rome, I'm doing these tours. Whether you and the kids want to come or not, I don't care. I'm doing these tours. So I had my camera, I have my lanyard, I have my walking shoes. I was in it, dude. It was me and all the people with canes, and I loved every moment of it. So I was like, I'm doing these tours. Okay, I don't care. I'll show you here in a few weeks about my Rome, my Colosseum tour, which was phenomenal. But one of the tours I wanted to do was the prison that Paul and Peter waited in to be beheaded. It's called the Mamertine Prison. I have a photo of it. Look at me, my boomer self standing in the middle. That says in Italian, it says, this is the prison of the holy saints, Paul and Peter. Petrone Popolo. This is the holy prison of the saints, Peter and Paul. You can do the prison, both of them. Peter was crucified upside down in the year 63 AD by Nero. Paul was beheaded in the year 65 AD by Nero. Paul was beheaded because he was a Roman by birth, and they would want to honor Romans by giving them a quick death, so they beheaded him. Peter was a Jew, so they crucified him upside down. This is the prison that they were held in, awaiting death. Now, get ready for my boomer photos, okay? Here's the hole. Look at my feet. Okay. Do you want to learn about Rome or not, okay? So obviously you see the staircase that I'll show you here in a moment that you can go down and look in the prison. Of course, that wasn't there in the year 63 AD. That was the hole they would drop prisoners in. That's about a 15-foot drop down. And if they didn't like you very much, they'd drop you down head first. And you just pray to God that you don't break a leg or break an arm, or because they're not coming down there. There's no way in. You are down there. And then the way that they get you out is they throw a rope down there, and you get the noose ready, and they pull you up. You're like, okay, this is my day. So this is the hole they drop you in. Now, of course, they've cut a thing, and you can go down in the bottom now. You can go to my... Here is, you see that hole? Do you remember in the book of Acts where it says that Paul and Peter baptized the Roman guards? Out of that hole. That hole is connected to the nearby sea and the aqueduct that the Romans built. And when the sea was high or it rained a lot, that would fill with water. And they would ask for a cup of water to drink from, and they'd baptize each other from that very hole. And it still has water in it. And it still rises. And if it was a bad flood season, you better hope it doesn't rise too high while you're in chains because you drown to death. There's a bronze photo. This is a 3rd century bronze they found near the cell of Paul and Peter in chains getting ready to baptize the 2 Roman guards from the hole. Okay, go back to see that square? That is where Paul would have been. There's still 2 holes where the chains were. That's where Paul was chained, waiting to be beheaded. There's another cell that he was held in for about 2 years across the street, down the road a bit. He waited there on house arrest for 2 years, waiting to see if he was going to die or not, and then he waited here for probably just a few weeks until Nero beheaded him. Where you're at right there, it's only 2 blocks from the Colosseum. He would have heard the screams from his dungeon cell, knowing that's where I'm going. Many argue where he wrote the prison epistles, Philippians, Colossians, Galatians. Was it under house arrest, or was he allowed to finish the letters in this jail cell? There's a very good chance that he could have wrote words from that very rock as he's getting ready to die. No matter if it was in this prison or the next, doesn't matter too much because both look the same. I tried to get into the other one, but I guess you need a ticket. So they wouldn't let me in. But it's the same. They both look like prisons. They both look the same, just in different locations. And this is what he says in Philippians 3, awaiting death. Though I myself have reasons for confidence in the flesh, if anyone else thinks he has reasons for the flesh or confidence for the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day, people of Israel, tribe of Benjamin. I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. So he's saying to all the Jews, you think being circumcised on the 8th day, being a real Jew, being from the people of Israel, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. He's saying, I am the Hebrew of Hebrews. You want to glorify and be confident in all these things? I have them all. And then he switches to the other side. Oh, you think you're a Pharisee? I was a Pharisee. A zeal, a persecutor of the church. And as to righteousness, blameless. So he says to all of you, Jews, you think you have it? I have it. To all the Gentiles or the Pharisees or the religious, I was all those things. But look what he says. But whatever gain I had, I counted it as loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ, Jesus my Lord. For his sake, I have suffered the loss of all things and counted them as rubbish. The word rubbish is the closest Greek word to the S word. It's as if you like shh and not do the T. Like it's the majority of that word. He's literally saying all these things that you think is righteousness is like feces. That's what he's literally saying. You think because you were circumcised and from the tribe of Benjamin and you do all these things and you're a Pharisee, you think all that stuff is worthwhile. It's rubbish. Rubbish compared to what? Knowing Christ. Imagine a man in a jail cell awaiting to be beheaded, penning, it was worth everything. And we can barely get people to tithe. We can barely get people to go to church more than 8 times a year. We can barely get people to come to a prayer meeting because we're too busy and life is too full. And I got too much going on. God, I have 3 kids. I get it. Like life is crazy. But is the kingdom worth it or not? Like I know parking here is a nightmare, but like I think it's worth it. I know standing the entire time, but I think it's worth it. We have friends that drive from Seaside every Sunday. I don't think it's worth that. But they do. People drive from Salem, boring. People walk across the street. Like, can you imagine telling Paul, while he's in a jail cell waiting to be beheaded, as he's penning, everything I've lost was worth it. What was worth it? Knowing Christ. And notice the list. He doesn't say, I was saved from prostitution and now God is better. He doesn't say, I was a drug dealer, but God is better. He doesn't say, I was a fornicator, but God is better. Notice the list of good things, righteous things. He says, even all of my good things in this life are rubbish. Those aren't rubbish. Being a Pharisee, do you know what you have to do to be a Pharisee? Memorize the first 5 of the books of the Bible by heart and say them out loud to your professor. They're righteous people. They know the Bible. He's not saying, all the bad things that I was before Christ, they weren't worth it. He's saying, all of the stuff I pursued in this life, all of my academics, all of my letters behind my name, all the money I have, all the sales I've made, all the homes I possess, everything, it was rubbish. What was it rubbish compared to? Knowing Christ. We're silly people. We are silly people to dare to consider the idea that you lose in the exchange. We are silly people. When we look at our list of things and go, it's pretty good though. I don't know. I really need to do the math. Do you? You actually have to take some weeks and months to consider money and fame and titles or Jesus. I don't know. I've worked really. We actually think it's a comparison between all the stuff that we lose, but considering what we gain. Jesus would be like, hey, you want to come? Yes or no? Yeah, but can I? No. Yes or no? But I kind of want to bring yes or no. Well, I have a whole bunch of yes or no. I'm kind of busy. Yes or no? What do I have to do? It's everything. Everything? Yeah. But what do I get then? Me. And these two men go, I will sell it all because of the price of the pearl or the treasure that I found, because I know what I'm getting is more than what I lost. What I've received is better than what I gave up. I do it. Notice what it says. It says they do it in joy. Excitement. Well, I guess I'll go to church again, and if God really wants it, I guess I'll have to do it. If that's really in the Word, I guess I'll have to. No, it says they did it with excitement. Jesus, what's your kingdom like? Well, it's like people that find something of great value. And they have to make a decision. When they find the thing of great value, is it worth it? He puts the ball in your court. This is the crisis parable. What are you going to do? And I ask you the same question. What are you going to do? You found him. You found the pearl of great price. You found the treasure hidden in the field. What are you going to do? Here's the thing. Some of you found Jesus at like 13 and you didn't think he was worth it. Well, you're back again. Reconsider again. Some of you found Jesus at 35 and you left, and now you're 68 and you're back toward church. Reconsider again. Because what is it going to take? Everything. Why would I do this? Why would we live like this? Because you were the pearl of great price that God found in the earth. And he said, if that's the pearl of great price, what does it cost to get it? Me? Then I will give up everything I have. He's simply asking you to do for him what he did for you. You're the pearl of great price in the earth that God found, called and named. And he gave up everything to have you. Himself, literally. And we have the audacity to consider, I don't know if the kingdom's worth my time. I don't know if church is worth the drive, the parking, the money. Can you, and I'm done. Again, I tried not to make today super heavy, but it just came out how it came out. Next week will be better. It won't be. Could you take out every other church in the city? You know what I mean by that? Just like, what if it was just us? Right, there's 4,000 people that go to Rose. Could you imagine what we could do if there was just the 4,000 of us, let alone all the other churches? Well, just like, if it was just us, what could we do in this city? It took 12 Jewish teenagers to destroy and flip the Roman Empire. 12 of them. 12 teenage boys that said, I'm in. What do you need? You want my fishing boat? Have it. You want my tax booth? It's yours. You want my business? You want my land? God, whatever, I'm in. And they changed everything. What could we do in this city if we were surrounded by a church that said, whatever it takes, I'm in? Or do you need longer to consider if he's worth it? What's your that? What's your that? It's your intellect, it's your prowess, it's your money, it's your sexuality, it's your time, it's your gifts, it's your pedigree. What is your that? That God is saying, sell it. Sell it all. Come be with me.